Hi Motley crew. Welcome back. This is another Tales by Moonlight. I've refreshed myself. I have my water here that I'm going to be drinking. This is a 1.5 liter mason jar. It's like my favorite. Okay. As always, opening up the sacred space, setting the intention that I speak the highest truth rooted in love from the heart. With clarity today as I share my story, my perspective, what I've learned, and the wisdom I've gained on my healing and spiritual journey. As you exist in energetic space with me, hear me, see me, that you may receive healing energy and for the awakening and the alignment and embodiment of your authentic self and true soul essence. All right, Chim, let's do this. My Chi's my higher self. So, I'm going to be talking about my ancestral initiation as a dibia. So for those of you who don't know, dibia, I'm a dibia. I'm going to make an intro video. I've been putting it off because I'm like, talking about all of who I am just feels weird. But I realize I need to do it because I don't want y'all to be confused about who I am and what it is that I actually can do. Y'all need to know. So I'm a dibia Zamu Nawai, which is a traditional Igbo medicine person, holistic soul doctor, oracle, prophet, seer, diviner, spiritual counselor, leader, teacher, herbalist, and alchemist, healer. A dibia does many things, as I've said. Like, they have many roles. They fulfill many roles in society. And when I was going through my spiritual awakening process, I was in this point where I was like really drawn, and this is how I know that there's something there for me. It's because I keep being drawn into a certain direction. I just keep being pulled in a certain direction. I'm just not sure why. And I was being pulled towards Odinani, which is the traditional Igbo, Nigerian Igbo spirituality and cosmology. It's not a religion. It's a way of seeing and understanding the world and being in a relationship with it, which is all about this full moon in Libra is, if that's what if you're watching this video during that time. And so I kept being pulled in that direction and being pulled to like other traditional African medicine people and other African medicine folks. And I was just not sure. I was just like, is this for me or is this not? So on my Twitter, which I've deleted, I wish I had it. I wish I'd saved this screenshot, y'all, so y'all know how this spirit works. I was like, if being a dibia is on my path, then I ask spirit to bring me to a teacher so I can learn. This was in 2021 is when I said, and into 2021. Because at this point I'm learning, like I'm developing my spiritual abilities, I'm healing my soul, I'm healing my body and my mind, like I'm doing all of this other work. But there was something about being a dibia that kept pulling me. And I just was like, is this for me or is this not? Actually, this was early 2020. And so what I didn't realize is that I was being prepared for this. As I said that, I just kind of let it go into the universe. And then I remember in the dream state, I found myself surrounded by all these people, these figures in black hoods. And I'm just like, what's going on? In my dream, I was just like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, they start giving me these items, each one of them coming up and blessing me, each one of them coming up and blessing me. And then I get led up to this place, to a pyre, P-Y-R-E, pure, I don't know, that thing where people would lay on and they would burn them, something, historical, and I got burned. And from the ashes, I arose into a new form, a new figure, and I was being initiated, y'all. That was my version of initiation. I don't know how other people get initiated because I did not have a typical initiation through a human being, but I had to go through many initiations through the spiritual realm, where it was not only in the dream state. There were times where I'd be meditating, and all of a sudden it's like the ancestors, boom, I'm doing something with the ancestors. And so, interestingly enough, in 2020, when I did a visualization meditation, I forget what the purpose of this meditation was, y'all. I don't really remember. But in this meditation, I ended up at a cave. And in the cave was this, what I saw then as a man and a Black Panther. And I was like, okay, what are your names? And they told me their names. I'm not going to share their names because that's very personal. And when I talked to them, I spoke with them. I didn't know who these people were to me, but I met them. And so this is, again, how spirit works. You get little signs and signals along the way of what is true and where you're meant to go, because I didn't know I was on the path already. Fast forward 2021. And I had learned how to vibe up to meet my ancestors in my power place. This is what I learned through one of the spiritual mentors who helped teach me how to connect with the spiritual realm in this way, to strengthen my intuition in this way. So I'm vibing up, I'm in my power place, I'm meeting my ancestors, and then eventually I'm walking in my power place and I come across the cave. And I'm like, it's the ancestor, y'all. It was an ancestor from 3,000 years ago I had connected with. I did not know I was connecting with them, but I did. And there's this ancestor that's actually teaching me in my dreams and guiding me on what to do to develop myself as a dibia. And there's many other things that I cannot talk about now, and I cannot talk about here because it's secret. It's a secret, okay? You can't know it. Around how I became a dibia. And so that's how I learned who my teacher was, y'all. I had met my teacher before I even knew who my teacher was, who my ascended master was. And the reason I say ascended, because it's interesting, because we talk about ascended masters, y'all, like Jesus and Buddha and Guan Yin and who are other ascended masters? Those are the three that comes to my head right now. We talk about these ascended masters, people who have reached a level of spiritual ascension, which means they are in alignment with oneness and God in themselves. We talk about them in East Asia. We talk about them in the Middle East. We even talk about them in Europe, like masters that come from Europe. But we don't talk about the ascended masters who were African, because they exist. They just don't have names that we remember, because our history, my history, and the histories of so many of those who are from Black descendants of the diaspora, as well as indigenous Black folks and indigenous Americans, it was erased. The Western society didn't see our peoples as having spiritual knowledge and having a spiritual mastery. And so my teacher, the one who I apprenticed under to become a dibia, is from 3,000 years ago. And they were an ascended master who lived in a cave and who are very close with the elements. No, they didn't live with the caves, that's where they worked, but they spent a lot of time there. So my process of becoming a dibia was very, very heavily in the ancestral realm. And it was at this one point where early in my journey, I was really experiencing a lot of doubt about my path, because most people who go through a shamanic initiation go through human initiation. They go to an elder dibia, curandero, shaman, elder spirit worker in their lineage or whatever lineage they're going into, and they come together with a group of others who are on the same path as them, and they get initiated, and they go through that process with that group, even though they're on their own solo journey. And so I learned a lot of the lessons, I learned a lot of the skills and the training through the spiritual realm. And it was such that I had to learn to trust what I was learning. And it's interesting because many of those who go through it in person with a teacher in human form also do this in the spiritual realm, so it's no different. But for me, there was a level that I went through where I had to really trust what the information I was getting, trust that I was actually a dibia, that this was actually something I was being trained to do, that my ancestors chose me to help to do this work. In part because this is what my soul came here for, in part. To help bring people back into relationships with their soul, with each other, with their ancestral roots, with their spiritual team, their star family, as well as this earth, y'all. This earth. Shamanism, dibia, being a dibia, was one of the oldest forms of healing and of medicine, of interacting with the world. And so on my dibia initiation, I became activated, right? And I learned from my ancestral lineage that there were folks in my ancestral lineage who had abused their spiritual powers and abilities. And that's why we didn't have many dibias in my family up until this point. And it really did coincide with colonization, and ancestral, and what happened ancestrally to those who were stolen, bought, and sold, the slave trade. And I had to learn for myself that I came from a lineage that had this intergenerational trauma that I inherited. This separation of abilities, this greed and power that seeped into my ancestral line, which stopped these abilities, and from people having the courage or the strength to even look in that direction. Because not only were, we had that whole situation, but because of Christianity, many people in my family who, I'm not the only one who has gifts. I ain't the only one, but I was the one who was courageous enough to question, to be curious, to say, y'all saying that this is evil, that this ancestral way of being and interacting with the world is evil, but is it really? Or is that what we've been told? I want to figure out the truth for myself. I was one of the few who was courageous enough to seek the truth for myself. And so that led me on this path of being a dibia. And one of the first things is like when I said, you know what, at the end, I was watching a tarot video, y'all. Again, tarot is one of my spiritual teachers. And my spiritual teacher is now like, you don't need me no more. So let go of tarot. And I'm in that process, y'all. I'm in that process. I was watching a video and they mentioned like the way that you can accept your ancestral gifts at this time is very early on is by actually acknowledging it, by saying out loud, ancestors, if there are any gifts, and if you see me worthy, I open myself up to receive them. And I did that, y'all. And that night, and this is not all sunshine and rainbows. When you're working with the spiritual realm, there are some things that you have to really take into account. Boundaries matter. Negotiation matters. And I remember being lying in bed and I saw these beings in white faces coming to me, and then they started to can I say this on YouTube? Oh my gosh, YouTube is so censored. It's like, can I be honest? Oh. They started to engage with my body in an intimate way that did not feel comfortable. And I realized then, after a lot of other teachings, I woke up feeling very violated. That part of in Igbo cosmology is the understanding of Shimri. Shimri is the water goddess. The goddess, the Abada. She's not a goddess, y'all. She's a primordial force of water. And those who are associated with this water are considered like mer people, mermaids. They exist in another realm, but they're also human. They're not a human. They're also in this world, on Earth with us. They're descendants of those who come from the star people, who are also like water-based peoples, is what I'll say. And so these mer people have this relationship with dibias in which they and other people where they can have relationships on a soul level and then thus have intimate relationships in the spiritual realm. And I wasn't about that. I was like, I don't know what my ancestors were doing. I don't know what agreements y'all had with them, but that's not me. It's not. And I was so upset, y'all. I was so upset because I was like, I feel violated. And this is not what I asked for. And if these gifts have to come with this, then I don't want them. I don't want them. And so it was the thing is that I had to, in the process of becoming a dibia, I had to learn to assert myself and to assert my boundaries, not only with spirits, ancestors, or other spiritual beings, but it was also with these primordial forces. And I set my boundary, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I know what traditional dibias put up with, but I'm not that. And there was a meeting that was called because I was not happy with that. I was not happy with the way that was going for me personally. And I had to put it into it. And it was very uncomfortable, y'all. Very uncomfortable to be in the spiritual realm, astral realm, and they call it spirit wife, spirit husband. I wasn't okay with it. I didn't care where it came from or why I was there. I was not down with it. And so I had to learn how to assert myself, and I had to start be in my power with what it was I was comfortable with engaging in and doing as a dibia in terms of working with the spiritual realm and how I can negotiate that. And so that's something that I know dibias don't talk about, or other beings, other people talk about, but it's real and exists. It exists. Spiritual, succubus, all of those, whatever you want to call the word, they exist, y'all. And part of it is understanding your sovereignty, sovereignty as a person, but also as a soul, and asserting it. 1.1 I see right now. And so that was my process of coming into not only wholeness of self, but into my own power as a dibia, and learning how to interact with these different forces, with the forces that are bara of water, and being like, how do I want to interact? What works for me? How are we going to do, how often am I going to be doing rituals? How often am I going to be honoring and venerating? How often am I going to be acknowledging, the power that you give me? Because the more I work with these forces, these goddesses, these gods, the more I am embody that energy and that power. So it's not just me I'm walking with them as well. I carry them with me, just as you carry your ancestors with me. And so my initiation as a dibia was really learning all of these traditional ways of working with spirit and engaging with spirit and doing the work of spirit to work in energy healing and soul healing, but without the terminology, y'all, because I'm speaking English right now. I didn't go to Nigeria to learn the Igbo terms. I didn't do it in human form in terms of working with the human one-to-one. I had to learn it through energy, through the spiritual realm. And so now that I know that, then I'm like learning the odinani, the philosophy that goes around it, but then also, let's think that, the philosophy that comes with it, and being like, that's the word that the ancestors used to talk about this thing. And being able to see odinani not just as some like primitive way of viewing the world, but as this really deep, intricate technology. They were talking about the quantum field and quantum physics before the West even knew it existed. We just had different words and terms for it. So it's extremely advanced science, extremely advanced cosmology. And being able to have that information within me and now connect it with the actual Igbo term. And so through being a dibia, I learned how to heal the soul. I learned how to call back past lives. I learned how to connect with a person's higher self, their ancestors, their spiritual team, whether it be starseeds or archangels or ascended masters, whoever on their spiritual team that guides the person. I learned how to read a life path. I learned how to read energy, to feel energy, to interact with energy, to move energy, to manipulate energy, which is spellcasting. Spellcasting is, So I learned how to do all of this things, as well as understand that from this lineage, this DNA lineage within my being and body, that I also came and inherited many gifts. So not only do I have a star family, an ancestral star family lineage where I have spiritual gifts, and we all do, y'all. We all do. You might not be from the stars, but you have a soul lineage. I have a DNA lineage that came with all of these gifts and abilities that are carried a lot of strength and power, but was lost. And that through me and through my my courage, through my curiosity, through my willingness to learn, through my humility, I have come to embody and to hold and to be, in a sense, a living ancestor, to pass this down to the next generation so it is no longer lost or forgotten, to make sure that the gifts and the abilities that I hold are able to be be used with honesty and integrity. This isn't, I meant I had to live life a very different way, y'all. One that is very dedicated and devoted to the spiritual path of purification. And it's taken me some time to get here. I had to work, my spiritual awakening was the foundation in which for me to build that up and to develop to becoming a dibia. But the sacrifice, not only just sacrifice, but the way in which I live my life is one that is very outside the norm. From the way that I pray, from the way that I communicate with my ancestors, to the rituals and the ceremonies I do in honor of Oshimiri, the water, to the moon, to my connection with Ana, the earth. The one in which I'm very deeply connected to all of these forces, these primordial forces that were here before humanity was even here. And be able to be and have, Dibias are mystic mediators, so they have one foot in the physical, material realm, and one foot in the immaterial, unseen realm, and to have to walk that path with balance. To have to walk that path with one and the other. And there are times in the process of learning, and I'm in the point where I'm like, ooh, 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 right here. But before I was like this, y'all. One foot in the spiritual realm, I did not care about what was going on in the physical realm. Then one foot in the physical realm, I was like, forget the spirit, I'm not dealing with that. But I had to learn how to balance it out. And so there was this calling. As I was healing, I was awakening in my soul gifts. And I'm still in the process of remembering and wielding my abilities that not that I say I put them on a back burner, but there's so many things that I have to learn. And I was getting a crash course in the learning. And so being able to, for example, remove parasites, implants, to heal aura. So it's things like this that I was learning step by step because I had to do it for myself. I had to do it for myself. I had to heal myself and work with my ancestors, my ancient ancestor, y'all. I'm talking about 3,000 years ago. Humanity is older than you think. Hundreds of years. Hundreds of thousands of years. Humanity is hundreds of thousands of years old. That's what I was trying to say. And so this 3,000-year ancestor came from an age in which they existed, in which people who could teleport, astral travel, move things with their mind, bend time, etc., etc., etc. The things that people consider to be miracles and magic, that was common for those who were dibias and those who were of that level. And it's interesting because around the world, people were experiencing the same things. Whereas the ancient Vedic from India, where you had the sages who could levitate and do all of these, what we think as seemingly crazy things. They came from the same time period. We were all experiencing the same level of knowing and understanding because we were connected at that time with ourselves and our souls. And so to be a descendant of this lineage is an honor for me. And I'm at a point now in my learning and training that while I'm rooted in Odinane, I'm expanding beyond that. I call myself a multi-spiritualist. I'm not held to one tradition. I am not a traditionalist. I'm not. I'm a non-traditionalist. And I have to make that clear because people want to put you in boxes and be like, yeah, that's that traditional African healer. No, I'm not a traditionalist. I believe many things. Many spiritual traditions and mystic traditions hold truth. And I'm interested in truth. I'm a seeker of truth first and foremost. And so being a dibia and the abilities I have as a dibia are the same abilities I can use as a psychic medium, as an energy reader, as a tarot reader, as an oracle reader, as a Akashic record reader. Akashic records, I'm able to access that. We call it ago. It's the history and imprint of all there is and all there ever will be. It's the same gifts that someone uses to do past life regressions and rememberings. It's the same gift someone uses to go into a trance meditation. It's the same gift someone uses to communicate with another person's passed on loved ones. I just said that. That's a psychic mediumship. It's the same gift someone uses as a witch or a magician. Spell casting. That's the broad term for it. And so over the years, I've been gathering all of these skills and abilities, all underneath being a dibia, but it's all being an energy master, master channeler, and soul healer, holistic soul healer. That my ancestral initiation, even though it wasn't in person, it was very much true, right? I experienced it. I experienced it on a soul level, and I continue to experience it. And I continue to have access to my ancient ancestor who's in a cave, who loves me so much, who I thought was a man, but is actually a masculinized feminine. Masculinized feminine. And I say that because if they are a they, just like me. We're so similar. They're giving me a look. What? They're not a they, okay? They didn't have that term in their time period, so let me not say that. But I will say that we are similar in our ability to be in balance, masculine and feminine, light and dark. Like, we had to both walk those worlds, and so I'm in great honor to them always for them taking me under their wing and teaching me, even though I was stubborn at times. And I had attitude sometimes because I didn't like what I was being taught. Not that I didn't like what I was being taught. What was required of me. Back then, my soul was fighting, y'all. What was required of me? It's a big requirement. Now, this is a lifelong thing. It's not something I could just be like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, no, I have commitments to the spiritual world and to be in service to the spiritual world in a way that uplifts humanity and uplifts myself. And so I wanted to mention that because going a shamanic initiation, which is what the West calls it, is not a small thing. It's not something you just go, yeah, I want to learn, I want to do that. No, you're creating a lifelong commitment. It's a lifelong commitment to working with these spirits that you would work with. And in the process, where for me, it's working with not only just ancestral or ascended masters or archangels, it's also working with plant spirits. I get called by certain plants to work with certain plants. They come to me and they say, well, let's work together. I want to heal you so you can have this power and this energy to heal others. And it's acknowledging and respecting, really respecting and honoring this medicine. Plant medicine isn't just, oh, you're taking this plant and it's helping you on a physical level and doing something to your mind. No, there's a spiritual component. It's helping heal your soul and your energy. And I just want to put that there because in the West, they love to take people's medicines and make it into like, oh, it's just healing your mind and your body. Oh, that's why we're going to give you shrooms and ayahuasca and all of these things. And if you ignore the spiritual component, you're not giving a full picture or healing in the way that needs to be healed. Because when you're taking plant medicine, okay, this is the whole expose in plant medicine, y'all. If you're taking plant medicine, know that you are opening yourself up to spirit. And a proper dibia, a proper shaman, a proper curandero is able to hold energetic space and protect this perimeter so that the work can be done that needs to be done. And the West is not acknowledging that. That needs to be a separate video. The dangers of plant medicine. Okay. Thank you, y'all, for listening. I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna call it a day. I actually have a ceremony I need to do tonight for the full moon, so I'm gonna rest up and take care of myself so I can be in good space to do that and dance on the beach like a wild person. It's part of what I do. Now I feel weird, but then I got to a place where I was just like, if anyone sees me, let them know that I'm wild. And so with that, thank you for listening wherever, whenever you are. I never take it for granted. And know that I'm sending you off with love. Take care.